Hi everyone. Wow, you all look like you're all looking at me, which is a bit nerve-wracking, but we're okay, we're going to get through that. So yes, my name's Sarah Redmond and I work at Lloyds Banking Group. I'm in the culture and talent team and I've been working there for just over a decade now, and I've seen some real fundamental changes in how we kind of approach our inclusion and diversity agenda. But the thing that I'm here to talk to you about today is my baby. It's something that we kind of took from an idea and it's gone on to be really successful within our organisation, and it's our Disability Work Readiness programme. I'm going to talk to you about the impact that it's had and how hopefully you could look to do something similar within your organisations. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this quote from Henry Ford: if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. This actually is one of my favourite quotes, and I hope it will get you thinking this afternoon about how you view disability within your organisation. You see, the thing about change is that it can be scary, uncomfortable, but the rewards, those can be life-changing. At Lloyds, we recognise that everyone is different. We value the unique differences that each person brings to everyday life. Because of this, Lloyds Banking Group is working hard to build an inclusive bank and reflects the diversity of modern Britain. This, we feel, will really help us with our communities and how we engage with them, addressing our inequalities, supporting disadvantaged people, and helping people improve their lives for the better. If I take a look back at how traditionally perhaps we viewed disability, employment of disabled people in the UK has focused mainly on how we could change the physical infrastructure of our practices. As an organisation, we are challenging this assumption and want to move the debate from simply accommodating disabilities to developing talent and providing careers, not jobs. We are also committed to making our colleagues more disability confident and inspiring them to challenge their personal perceptions and unconscious biasness. So, after a few roundtables with our I&D teams and our disability teams and our culture teams, we decided to embark on what at the time was called our disability programme, working alongside our chosen partner, Redmond. The programme was to provide a 2-week programme for the disabled people within our communities. I'll talk a bit later about the journey that we went on and how it's really important to kind of have a think about where your starting piece wants to go. But needless to say that we had a couple of ideas, and we've changed as we've gone along, as we've grown as an organisation, and we have grown as we have learned about the individuals in which we're helping to support. So 2014, the programme was set up with the aims was to provide a 2-week work shadowing opportunity for disabled people in the community. These included visible and non-visible disabilities. We know for a fact that over 60% of individuals are not born with their disabilities, but they're acquired throughout their lifetime. And so it was really important for us as an organisation, when we looked round at our underrepresented groups, disability for us is really something that perhaps we weren't very good at. We'd had our female targets, we were getting to grips with our BAME, but what we hadn't really focused on was disability, and this was a way in which we were going to be able to do that. So the programme was a 2-week work shadowing programme. It was for people that had been unemployed for at least 12 months, and some of our candidates that come on the programme have little or no experience of employment. But our commitment to them is to build their skills and readiness for work, enhancing their future employability. And I think that's the really big thing. I talked a minute ago about it being kind of life-changing, and this programme is life-changing. It really does go on to help to build people who I guess come into the program, I think someone, we were talking earlier, you know, kind of with their heads down and they're all very nervous and not sure what they're doing, and then they're able to get up in front of people and do a presentation. And I think, you know, you see that throughout this program. We do some pre-employment vetting. We are a bank after all. We need to make sure that we do some checks within that piece, and placements are held within various divisions across the group. And I think that's another important thing is to mention, is that this isn't specific. This isn't kind of a cultural talent thing. You know, it's done in our Lex Auto Lease, or it's done in commercial banking or community banking. It's in our legal teams. Everyone takes part within that. And so the program really has two main aims. The first is to support, obviously, this group of individuals that we've talked about with their shadowing place, to help them with sessions that they can take on for their future employability. So we do things like CV writing, interviewing, and personal brand. And we spend a lot of time on that, really. So we really help them in workshops to kind of think about who they are, what it is that they want, and where they're going within their life journey, and how they can utilise this 2 weeks to get to where it is that they need to go to. But the second is to raise our disability awareness and confidence internally within the group. So this helps to align to our strategy around helping Britain prosper by championing, you know, our diversity and tracking social disadvantage. And I think for me, this is where the biggest changes come, I think. So I think it's fascinating, as I've learned over kind of the last 4 or 5 years, when I talk to hosts who have been involved within the programme, who perhaps had a different view of maybe somebody coming into their team that had a particular mental health challenge or was visually impaired, for example. And that person's then come in, they've imparted some of their knowledge, they've talked to them, they've talked about their challenges. So we're all learning at the same time. And actually, the host of that placement within our division has now got a very different view on what that means to have somebody that's disabled within their team. And that, I think, is really life-changing for us as an organisation. And I'm not sure that through our other recruitment or talent strategies that we would have come so far so quickly without having run our programme as we do today. So it was a slow growth, it wasn't easy. I started in 2014 with just 46 placements across the whole of Lloyds Banking Group, which is very, very tiny because there's thousands of us. But in 2018, so at the end of last year, we had 400 people come through this programme. And that has grown organically. So this is a side of the desk activity. And I think, you know, Neil mentioned it really well within his talk, and I didn't pay him to do it, but, you know, we're very lucky as an organisation. We have Antonio, who is very, very passionate about all things inclusive and diversity, and has been very public about his own challenges with mental health. And that puts that as a real culture change for us within our organisation. So it's something that we don't just pay lip service to, but we're really passionate about. And that allows people like me to go and to build programs like this, but it also allows people within our organisation to be able to support programs like this, you know, as not their main job, but to include that as part of their job. And I think that's really important. So yeah, so just shy of 400 in 2018. And then I think we have a look at, you know, what determines our success factors. So when we thought about how we were going to do the programme, we didn't think about, we had initially thought that we were going to do a talent pipelining. That's what we thought. The issue was that we had low disability, that we had low people, the numbers that we had was that we had low, I'm trying to get my words out here. What we had discovered was that the people who had disclosed that they had a disability within our organisation was extremely low, and that was what we wanted to work on. And we thought that by doing this programme would help with that, because it would be a talent pipelining opportunity. actually what we learned very quickly was that this wasn't about pipelining talent for us as an organisation, but what we were able to do was to pipeline and to support talent for across the UK. So far 1,000 people have come through our organisation or through this programme, 200 of which, as a direct result of the programme, have gone on to find employment. Now, 50 of those have been within Lloyds Banking Group, and I'm really proud of that, and I love the fact that they've been so inspired within our programme to come and work for us. But actually, 150 of those, their dream wasn't to come and work for Lloyds Banking Group. Their dream was maybe to go work in catering, or go and work in British Rail, or go and work in wherever. But their dream wasn't to work in financial services. But what they didn't have was that stepping stone to be able to get to their dream. And that's what this programme does. This programme gives them that stepping stone. It gives them those skills, building confidence, CV writing, understanding who they are, talking through and doing some interviewing stuff, and some real focused time with people within our organisation who can help them and can help them on that journey, to give them the confidence to go out there and to apply for that role, and not just apply for it, but to get to that role. And I think that's what I'm most proud of as part of this group. The other thing for me is that, you know, I can sit here and I can tell you that, you know, it's my baby. I've told you that. I love the programme. I'm massively invested in it. But I think it's really important for you to see what an impact that's having as well from the people that participate in the group. So of the 1,000 odd that we've had go through, every time that someone goes in through the programme, we send a questionnaire out to the host manager and also to the candidates to find out what they felt about the programme. And one of the many reasons that we do that is just to make sure that we're on track, but also because I can make some changes if I need to, but I just want to check that we're still doing the right thing by the hosts and by our candidates that kind of go through it. And I think this speaks volumes. So the first thing to say is that of the questionnaires that we send out, 90% response rate we get back. Now, I don't know anyone else who's tried to send out a questionnaire, because I know I've done lots in my time, and you're lucky sometimes if you might get 1 or 2 back. But I think this speaks volumes just in the response rate that comes through about how passionately people feel about the impact that it's had on them. So, you know, I think, you know, 99% of our hosts, so that was 400 hosts last year, said that they would recommend a programme to a colleague. And that's how we've grown the programme. So I didn't have any big, massive advertising budget. I don't get to kind of, you know, I do this as well as another part of my job as well, but this has grown this way because we've been given you know, the values to be able to go ahead and do it, but also because it really adds value to the people that are part of the programme. And I think, you know, 95% of candidates felt that they were more motivated to looking for a job after the placement, and that, you know, 99% of our candidates felt the programme was a valuable experience. And so I think that for me is the positive. That tells me that I'm doing a good job, and that tells me that I think, you know, it's something, you know, that I can go out and I can share with you guys, and, you know, and you can have a look at that and understand the impact. So, how do you get started? I think it's really important to have a clear objective, but I also think it's important that you're able to flex that. As I said earlier, you know, our initial thing was around disability disclosure within our organisation, and the fact that actually we weren't very good at it. We didn't have kind of that piece in, and we thought that this would be a great fix. But actually, as we worked with the colleagues and stuff that they came through with, as I explained earlier, you know, that wasn't it. So now it's about arming people to go out and be the best that they can be, and that's kind of our objective. And that also aligns very nicely to our own Helping Britain Prosper piece, so we can tie that back in with our organisational piece as well. And I think it's about how do you measure success. As I said, you know, ours is kind of done within the percentages. It's really hard on a programme like this. There's no kind of, they're only in for 2 weeks, so you don't kind of get your retention piece or whatever and stuff like that. So be really clear. So for me, it's kind of that those surveys that I send out are really, really important, and that's how I measure success. And resources, you know, is this something that you can do on your own? Can you kind of Can you pick up with somebody? Is there a local organisation within your area? You know, do you want to do it on age or disability or gender or whatever? But is that something that you can do on your own, or do you need some other expertise to help? So, you know, you'll have seen through all on my slides, we're supported by Remploy. So Remploy are specialists in their field. They look after candidates who have a disability. You have to have a disability to be able to register with Remploy. I wouldn't be able to reach personally all of those people without Remploy's help, and I certainly wouldn't be able to identify people who had been out unemployed for over a year within that sector. So I really need them to help me to achieve our goal, and obviously it aligns with their goal as well, because their goal is all about helping to support people with disabilities get back into the workplace. So we've got a really clear objective together. Do you need wider internal support? I think, you know, we mentioned earlier, I think at one of our roundtables, you know, the reality of changing an inclusive and diverse culture does have to mean that your CEO buys into it, and so does your senior stakeholders, because actually, if they don't, it's really hard to push that I&D boulder up that hill in your organisation. You know, you really need to know that that's kind of trickling down so that everybody buys into that. Do you want to start with a pilot or not? Do you just kind of want to just go with it like we did? We didn't start with a pilot, we just went with it, and it's just grown organically. How long will the programme embed, and what will work for your business? And then I think you move then on to the embed section. So just ensure that you're constantly reviewing the programme, and I think things like those questionnaires can do that, so it can make sure that you're really hitting the spot. I go down, I speak to people within the Remploy offices, I go and I speak to our hosts regularly, I have meetings with them, and just make sure that you're achieving your objectives, and that you know, you're able then to track the MI to support your success. And then I think that we're just, you know, was asked to just kind of bring to you, I mean, just some of the things that we're doing apart from the disability work placement for diversifying our recruitment. So here are some of the additional things that we're doing. So, you know, our external advertising, we've got the lovely Dan talking soon. I don't know where he is, if he's here yet, from Visida. But, you know, we include Visida and Working Mums and Remploy and the Armed Forces and all of that. The Business Disability Forum, so we got our Gold Standard Award. I don't know if any of you were able to read some of the blurb before we came up, but that's kind of all in there. You know, we've got apprenticeships, we work with the National Autistic Society, we're doing flexible working, guaranteed interview schemes. You know, and again, I think when we talked about inclusion and diversity, there's no one magic bullet for all of this. You have to kind of do lots of different things, and those lots of different things will build and help you to get that inclusion and diversity, I think, as an organisation, and that's certainly what I've learned over the last few years. But as well as how we go out to attract, what we've also started to become very good at is how we support our own diverse workforce. And I think that that's really important, because I think if you've got your funnel coming in, but you're losing them just as quickly out the back end, that's not a great place to be in either. So you have to really take a step back and take that whole holistic end-to-end recruitment journey piece. And this is just some of the stuff that's available to me as an employee within Lloyds Banking Group. So, you know, we've got the access to work in there. We do a great load of stuff on health and well-being. You know, we've got a mental health resource centre, flexible working. You know, I get to work from home the majority of the time, which is great for me. I've got 3 young boys, and I get to go and see their plays and get to go and watch them do their sports day and whatever and stuff like that, because I have that flexibility to work at home, and then I get to come and do some great stuff like this too. You know, we've got dedicated teams, we've got I&D activity happening all over the group, with lots of people like me being able to set up different programs that help to support different types of communities. And I think as a result of that, we've just recognised both internally and externally by our partners. And then that leaves me to close. Now, I didn't know how to close today, because I told you how brilliant the programme was, and, you know, and I just wondered how to do it. And then over half term last week, I was watching the Lorax with my kids, and this comes up at the end of the Lorax. I don't know how many of you have had the pleasure of sitting through and watching it, but it's actually quite a great movie. And this comes up at the end, and it says, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get done better. It's not. And I thought, that's it. That's my close, because it really is as simple as that. You know, I can tell you all the great stuff. I can tell you about the impact it's had. But it's over to you, and it's up to you. It's up to you whether or not I've inspired you enough to want to come and talk to me some more afterwards. But, you know, really, this is about you changing your organisation, your views, challenging those pieces. And unless you do, then nothing's going to change. And that's it. I hope my stories inspired you, and I look forward to some questions, but not too tricky ones, please.